Hey everyone, my name's Lily, and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to be concluding my 2021 favorites video series. Finally, we're going to be chatting about YA fantasy sequels. There are a lot. I had a really hard time with these fantasy sequels because I had a really hard time to figure out how can I chat about them. So here's how it's going to go. I won't be giving summaries because those are spoilery. So what I will be saying about them, depending on if the series is finished, I'll be kind of talking about the series as a whole with no spoilers. But if the series isn't finished, I'll be giving basically either way kind of like three main things that I love about the series. And fun for you, I'm not gonna look it up, so it's gonna be my like very much, oh, how do I feel over a year later about these series, knowing that I haven't refreshed my memory. So hopefully this is interesting for you. Some of these are some of my favorite series of all time. So great. Let's just jump into it. The first is Flamefall. I really love Flamefall because also the series is not complete. I for some reason thought the series was complete, and then I was on Edelweiss and I was like, oh my god, there's a third book coming out this fall. So I'm pretty sure the third book is coming out this fall. I'm pretty sure that's the last book. So Flamefall is the second book. And I think what I really loved about Flamefall is that it didn't fall into the second book syndrome. I feel like sometimes in sequels, it can be like, first book, there'll be a really intense cliffhanger. And then the second book, it'll be like, one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back. And then at the end of it, it'll be like, okay, there were like, you know, little things that have been happening, but nothing, like, a lot has not really changed. And that's not the case in Flamefall. A lot has changed. I really love it. If you really love dragon books, you have to read the entire series, basically. But I really loved in this series how it's about dragons and about friendship and unlikely friendships and unlikely alliances. And the politics and betrayals are so good. Also, the betrayals in Flamefall, they cut deep. That's all I'm going to say. I remember finishing Flamefall and being like, excuse me? So I'm very excited for the third book / maybe series finale. The next one is Our Violent Ends, which is the end of the duology. This was the end. This was a sequel to These Violent Delights, which is one of my favorite books. I have, how many copies of Our Violent Ends do I have? 3. You know, just saying. Oh, but that doesn't count my arc, so 4. Anyway, I loved Our Violent Ends so much. It is the beautifulest, perfectest sequel. I know that a lot of people, because it's like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, so a lot of people have interesting feelings about the ending. It's just going to be what it's going to be. What I love is that how much it really like focuses on a lot of the elements that I loved in the first one, where I was kind of like, ooh, I like you, and it kind of builds upon them. I thought that it was really gorgeous, and it was one of those series finales / sequels where I just felt so good after finishing. And like, don't get me wrong, I felt emotionally destroyed, but also so good because I was like, yes, you know, it was one of those things where it's like, this is an ending that hurts, but it is ending that if I divorce myself from the emotions, it feels good. It feels right. And I have already read Foul Lady Fortune, which is the next duology in the Our Violent Ends, These Violent Delights world. And oh my god, that is so good. I know that this is not, this is not a video about that, but, just saying. Anyway, the next one is The Queen Will Betray You. This is the second book. The third one, The King Will Kill You, is coming out this year. So, like, this is a great reminder video to, like, catch up on these series. The Queen Will Betray You is the sequel to The Princess Will Save You, which is a Princess Bride retelling, but is gender bent, and oh my god, it is so good. The first one was just so fabulous, and the second one was also not a second book syndrome. So much happens, and like so much happens that develops the world specifically, because I felt like in the world of the first one, there are really a lot of interesting things where I'm like, oh, I never really thought about the world in The Princess Bride apart from the main characters, but obviously there's a world apart from the main characters. And so in The Queen Will Betray You, that world is like exploded in color and description and detail and politics. Like, it is so good, and I cannot wait for The King Will Kill You. I get access to these arcs so far in advance. I know it's like, whatever. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Just like bear with me for a second. And then I'm bound to this schedule that I've made, but I just like sometimes I want to break it so bad. I want to break it so bad right now to read The King Will Kill You. I do. But anyway, done talking about that. Okay, so that was fabulous, and if you really love the idea of a gender-bent princess bride, you need to read the first one, and I think the second one will thrill you, and also the third one's coming out, so like, why not? The next one is Wings of Shadow. This is a series finale. If you like phoenixes, 100% a series for you. Phoenixes, complex sister relationships. The sister relationship between Val and Veronica is like, it is so good. It is so complex. There are feelings of guilt, resentment, anger, love, like all of these different things. It is just so beautifully complex, and I loved it so much. And also just like all of the side characters, because Wings of Shadow and the whole Crown of Feathers trilogy, they are all multiple perspective. And so all of these characters really kind of just like take a firm root in your heart. Wings of Shadow was a beautiful, beautiful series finale. Like, it was just everything I could have wanted so much. Just so much. I love my Owl Crate editions of the series, and I also actually was also sent a finished copy of Wings of Shadow, so that's the only, wait, no, it's not the only one. I think it might be the only one where I have the normal edition and the Owl Crate edition as well, but it is such a fantastic series if you really love multiple perspective, complex sister relationships, and phoenixes. The next one is Song of the Abyss, which is actually one that I chatted about in my New to Me authors video, so I will refer you to that one because I chat a lot about Song of the Abyss in that one. The next one is Redemptor. This was a sequel to Raybearer. I really like this because honestly, after the Raybearer, I was kind of like, where is this book going to go? And so Redemptor was one of those books where I was super surprised where it went, because honestly, at the end, I was kind of like, what is the sequel gonna be about? But Redemptor was just a really fabulous book where I was just really impressed, honestly, with the world and the characters in Raybearer and Redemptor so much. And I think if you really enjoyed the first one, you definitely should read the second one. I mean, obviously in the series, like, if you really enjoyed the first, you probably should read the sequel, but I think that I really liked it. It's been a really long time since I read it, so I honestly can't remember too much about the actual plot that happens in it. But I do remember that I liked it, and I do remember that I was pleasantly surprised at a lot of things that happened, and also like where the story was going to go afterwards. I think I really liked in Redemptor also how it really is delving into being a leader and how you can be a good leader and what it means to be a good leader and what it means also to be powerful and what is the intersection between those. So the next one is Cassadora. This is the series finale of Lobizzona. I honestly thought there was going to be 3. I don't know why I thought that, but it was so embarrassing because I thought that so much, and then I was doing an interview with the author, and I was like, oh, did you think of it always as a trilogy? And the author was like, this is a duology. This is done. So, that was embarrassing in 2021. Anyway, Cassadora was a fantastic sequel. Okay, there aren't, like, how do I describe this? I want more of this story of these characters of this world. Like, the world in Lobizzona and Cassadora are so fabulous. This idea of being like half of I was gonna say half of a monster, but it's not half of a monster, but being challenging these expectations about gender, challenging these expectations about power and power for girls, like challenging all of these different stereotypes. It is fabulous. And also the endings of Cassadora, I was kind of like, whoa, a lot has happened in the book, and definitely if you love Lobizzona, you have to read Cassadora. But in Cassadora, I really, really enjoyed how it talks about rebellion and how it talks about a revolution and kind of what decisions have to be made in a revolution/rebellion as well. The next one is The Bronze Beast. This is the final book in the Gilded Wolves trilogy, and it destroyed me emotionally. Honestly, it was like one of those things, kind of like in Our Violent Ends, where I like felt so emotionally raw after finishing it. I felt like how do I describe this? I felt like finishing The Bronze Beast. I love this series so much. Like, so many pieces of my heart love this series. Loved all of the characters so much that I knew that The Bronze Beast was going to be very emotional for me to read, and so it was. And reading it, finishing it, I was like, I feel like just so emotionally raw and drained in a good way, but still. And so the Bronze Beast really still has that idea of characters. It still has this idea of heists and kind of archaeological puzzles as well. So it has a lot of the things that you will love if you love the first two books, and the characters you'll love if you love the first two books. But in general, I love the idea of these archaeological puzzles, and I think the Bronze Beast just capitalizes on these themes that Roshani has been writing about this entire series, about sacrifice and about ambition and what we will do for the people we love and what we will do to achieve our goals. So, you know, that tells you anything about the sequel / series. That's a good one. The next one is Into the Dying Light. This was the trilogy ender to a dark, what is it? I can't remember the full name. Oh, There Will Come a Darkness. I was going to say A Darkness Must Rise, but that's not what it's called. There Will Come a Darkness. It's also multiple perspective. I really love this sequel. This is a series ender, by the way, so you can read like all of the books of the series out now. And I participated in a series read wrap-up, or not a series read wrap-up, like a book one where we really recapped what happened for book one, for book two. So if you need a refresher, honestly, before you get into book two, definitely check it out. I'll leave my post below. We split it up though, so you can only see my part, but I'll leave the post and like the whole series thing there. If you loved the first two, you have to read it because there are some twists that I was not expecting. This multiple perspective series is just like so good if you love characters who are struggling with this idea of fate and what we can do in the giant world, and what our place is in the world. And like I think that the characters in Into the Dying Light, it was so clear how much our characters have been through and how much like growth and development has been made in their characters and their relationships in the group. It was just one of those books where there was a lot of action, of course, and a lot of really kind of jaw-stopping twists. But what really I loved about it was that the character development, that it was so clear to see over the entire series. That's true for all of these series finales, honestly, in this video. Like the character development for all of these series finales, I'm looking at the list, we're just so beautiful to watch, honestly. And it's always difficult to describe that in a review because it's like, you can say 5 million times the character development was so fabulous, but it is so difficult to describe how beautiful it is to watch a character grow over that period of time. And that's how I feel, and it's so much how I feel about Girls of Fate and Fury, which is the last of the Girls of Paper and Fire trilogy. It is just like, this trilogy has meant so much to me as a reader and as a person. Natasha is just one of the sweetest human beings on this planet. Ren and Lei are just like so precious to me. I'm not wearing my shirt from the series, but I should be, honestly. But Girls of Fate and Fury, if you've read the first two, you have to read the third one. And honestly, in my opinion, now that you can get all of them, you probably, if you're going to go into the series, should just get all of them because, as I said, the growth and development for these characters and specifically the relationships between these main characters is just like so painful but also emotional, and all these things that they've had to deal with, and this idea about moving forward and trauma and kind of who we are in the aftermath of trauma. Because I feel like in the first one, like the trauma was happening, and so it was really raw and very intense emotionally. And then the second one, there's a lot of these nightmares, a lot of these questions, and so it's about kind of reeling from those aftermath. But this one is kind of like, okay, but like, what could our life be like afterward, right? And it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say that the whole, third book is all about that, because there's a lot of action that happens to even get to a point in which you can think about that. But in general, for series finales, I think that so much of the beauty of it is having these characters who've gone through a lot start thinking about wondering what their life could be like. And I think that watching a character go through kind of like, oh, what's going on? Oh my God, I'm being thrown into this situation that I'm not prepared for. And then growing through that. And then also at the end of it being like, I'm a different person. And all of these experiences have profoundly changed me. And so what do I want? anymore. Like, this is... I'm getting really emotional talking about this, but anyway. That's it. The Righteous is the last one in these series that I read. Okay, so The Righteous, I think... Yes, The Righteous is the third one. So it was The Beautiful, The Damned, and The Righteous. I loved The Righteous so much. I did not really like The Damned, honestly. So I was like really, really nervous. So honestly, after reading The Damned, I didn't really have high hopes for The Righteous, but I loved it the most. And honestly, I think it's my favorite of the series. So The Righteous mostly revolves around Philippa and Arjun, which I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're the names of the characters. But they were honestly one of my favorite, like two of my favorite characters from the entire series. So watching them have more of a role and have more of a center role was just so fabulous. Yes, I think, is it Bastille and Cecilia? Or watching them also was like interesting to see tangentially kind of what's happening in their lives. But watching Philippa and Arjun was like fantastic. Their main relationships, and also seeing both of these characters have to grow, seeing how Arjun has had to harden himself to survive, and also to see Philippa like really come into her own was really fabulous. I think that there's another book coming. I don't know when. But considering that The Righteous was published in 2021, maybe 2022, because it is a quartet. But what is the last one called? I'm going to look this one up. I'm going to break my no phone rule because I'm really, really interested about when this is going to come out. But anyway, I would say that if you didn't feel that strongly about The Damned as well, you should definitely read The Righteous, and you should give it a third chance, or whatever you want to call it, because it is my favorite one of the series entirely, and I'm really happy that it exists, basically. It's renewed my hope in the series. It says The Ruined is the name of the fourth one, and it says 2022, but the main review is like, what is happening? When is this book coming out? And so it says 2022. I don't know when it is. There's no cover as well, so... Penguin Teen. Help us all out. Anyway, so I really loved how this sequel, I think, is really good proof that all of these side characters have really interesting stories to tell, and honestly can kind of save how I feel about a series, right? And so The Righteous is just a fabulous a fabulous book about belonging, and a book about, coming into your own. I felt like their character developments and their character journeys alone in The Righteous was so much more compelling, honestly, to me, than the Cecilia and Bastille, or is that their name? I don't know. You know what I mean. Than theirs in the first, mostly because I was kind of like, what is gonna happen with you guys, right? Like, I just felt like their romance and their relationship was not nearly as interesting to me as Philippa and Arjun. That's probably a personal preference. So you know what? You just take that with however much salt you need. But anyway, that's why I really love The Righteous, and that's why it was on my YA fantasy favorites. So without further ado, folks, we are at the end of the 2021 favorites that I love. It's been a long time coming. Thank you all for joining me on this ride. I hope that you can pick up any of these books, and also that you will have found either a book that you loved in this video series, or a book that you want to pursue in this video series, either one. I'm really excited. I don't know how I'm gonna schedule the 2022 favorites, because this one was kind of a little bit clunky, honestly, to work out, and I don't really know what I'm gonna do about it for 2022, but feel free to leave any comments or suggestions down below, and also any suggestions or comments about things you want to see content-wise, because I'm done. So I'm gonna need to do other videos soon. Anyway, have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!